In Romania you get a free bus ticket for 20 squats. 5 interesting places people are forbidden or restricted from visiting. 1. The Doomsday Vault. 2. North Sentinel Island. 3. Las Gorks Cave. 4. Bangor Fort. 5. Vatican Archives. A diving horse is an attraction that was popular in the mid-1880s, in which a horse would dive into a pool of water, sometimes from as high as 60 feet. Here are some genuine photos of the exhibitions. Cloudflare has a wall full of lava lamps they feed into a camera as a way to generate randomness to create cryptographic keys. The sky over Minnesota reminds me of that scene of Interstellar when they are on the water planet. The waterfall of the bright Cajamarca, Peru. The Boston Bruins bar tapped from Foxwoods Casino after winning the Stanley Cup 11 years ago. The Carlton Tavern London was illegally demolished in 2015 by developers who wanted the land. They thought they'd just get a manageable fine, but were ordered to rebuild it, exactly as it was brick by brick. Here it is today. The older bricks are obvious on the right. A 1 million seater stadium concept made and designed by American artist Paul Fever. Mike Tyson at 18 years old with a 20-inch neck. 1800 years ago, a convert to Judaism called Jacob wrote a grave marker in red ink, warning the world against opening his grave in the prestigious Beachy Rim Cemetery in the Galilee. Photographer captures a magical swarm of butterflies. Perhaps the most terrifying space photograph to date. Astronaut Bruce McCandless II floats completely untethered, away from the safety of the space shuttle, with nothing but his manned maneuvering unit keeping him alive. The first person in history to do so. The biggest bug known to ever live. The Arthropleura Millipede that predates the dinosaurs and grew up to 100 pounds. New Orleans Juneteenth installation. First the man takes the drink, then the drink takes the man. Sculpture created based on an old Irish saying. A punt gun, used for hunting ducks. A single shot could kill 50 or more ducks at once. I found a time capsule behind a cornerstone in a building I'm tearing down. The Electra chlorotica is a slug that can perform photosynthesis and live like a plant by taking chloroplasts from them. I found a juvenile tyrannosaur tooth while hiking. FDA approves the first treatment for alopecia areata. 5 more places forbidden or largely inaccessible. 1. The Coca-Cola Vault. 2. Snake Island. 3. Digogasha Island. 4. Tomb of Kinshi Huang. 5. Ice Grand Shrine, Japan. Sophisticatedly wrapped mummy at the Louvre. This is the skull of the prehistoric predatory whale Leviathan Milvelli. This whale had teeth over a foot long and would have competed with megalodon for food. There is a building in Fatih, Istanbul, Turkey which covers 3 periods of history in its architecture. Roman Empire bottom, Ottoman Empire in the middle, Republic 3-floor building. Natural copper replacement petrified wood. This is a display in the London Museum of Natural History. Wood that soaked in copper-rich fluids in a mine for so long that copper ended up completely replacing the wood. The waves created by a moving body in water, be it a duck or a ship called feather waves, are always at an angle of 19.47 degrees to the direction of motion, irrespective of the speed. A picture of the Colosseum from the sky. In Chamberlain, South Dakota, a 50-foot sculpture called Dignity was created to honor the women of the Sioux tribe. Newgrange is a passage to Man Island. It's older than the pyramids and Stonehenge. This is a horse with hooves that are not trimmed. Map of Pangea with modern borders. Last September I had corrective surgery on my back and now I have 4 odds, 22 screws and 2 hooks in my body. How Vietnamese welcomed US President Obama when he visited Vietnam for the first time in 2016. The inside of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. This is a gulper eel. They live at depths below 10,000 feet under the ocean. Some gulper eels can actually consume prey that's bigger than they are because of their distinctive jaws. The clearest image of Mars ever taken. A horse sculpture made using scrap parts. Can't believe I noticed this. A screw that has been sanded into the terrazzo floor. Twisted chimney in Wales. A selection of Art Nouveau doors by architect Ernest Bleret. The shining eyes of alligators in Everglades. The bookmobile was a traveling library often used to provide books to villages and city suburbs that had no library buildings. This one is from 1931. I hand dye my macrame to make plant hangers. What do you think? Street art in France by Seth Land. A collection of theatre masks from ancient Greece. A graphic from an old newspaper showing Al Capone's lavish outfit. The combined worth of it is close to $11,000 in today's money. Australia is bigger than Pluto. Black Cat audition in Hollywood 1961. The audition was held for Tales of Terror 1962 by Roger Corman. There's a random World War II plane crash on the island that's separate Russia and Alaska that's been marked and reviewed on Google Maps. A sheet of acid bought at Red Rocks in the 1960s. Currently cased at the Denver Hard Rock Cafe. There were candle clocks that were set to burn for a certain amount of time. When you wanted to set a reminder or alarm, you would attach a nail to the candle at the time you wanted, and when the candle melted to that level, they would fall on the metal candle holder and make a sound to warn you. Still getting purple and yellow tipped seeds from this particular strain I bred crossing Grandaddy Purple and Blue Power. This is the 3rd time it's produced seeds like this. The original range of buffalo in North America. Wreckage of a Soviet Ekranoplan lung. For decades we thought Homo sapiens evolved in East Africa 200k years ago. But it's now widely accepted that this skull pushes the date back to 300k years ago, and in Morocco, North Africa. The Al Nasser Rock Formation sits in Saudi Arabia, split in two. It appears as if it's mounted on pedestals with a perfect divide down its center. Helmet with a built-in communication device so that the motorcycle rider can talk with the passenger in the backseat 1960s. In 1890s slang, to swallow the nut meant to use long and complicated words without knowledge of their meaning. To swallow the nut, to use long words without knowledge of their meaning. Some fun road signs in the Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh region of India located in the Himalayas. The Halley Research Station in Antarctica. A piece of foil, a leftover from the landing gear of the Perseverance rover, was recently spotted stuck between two rocks. over 3 kilometers away from the landing site. Or 3,400-year-old city in Iraq emerges from underwater after an extreme drought. Unique hair, beard styling of the 19th century. Centuripe in Sicily, founded around the 5th century BC, and noted by Cicero as the biggest city in Sicily, it now has a population of circa 5,400 people. Old photo of my grandpa, using his trusty reindeer. He traveled 400 kilometers to buy supplies from Sweden. Bald eagles get caught up in air-to-air combat, one crashes into the sea. Treasure hunters are still searching for the Amber Room, often called the 8th wonder of the world, containing tons of gold, amber and gems, looted by the Nese in 1941. Below is believed to be the only color picture. A solid brass hammer I found at work. Here is an origami golden owl that I made from one uncut 65 cm square of paper that contains 1 gram of 23.5 karat gold powder. The Yeti crab, Kiwa hirsuta. This crustacean lives near hydrothermal vents deep in the waters of the South Pacific, approximately 2,200 meters, 7,200 feet, below the surface. It's believed that this species feeds on the bacteria that grows in the hair covering its legs. The thickest tree in the world. At one point it was thought it was several trees fused together. Arbol del Tul. Ghost mushrooms of Australia, bioluminescent fungus that have been the inspiration for many film settings. If you've never seen one before, here is the skull of a hippopotamus. A polar bear paw compared to a human hand. A European stag beetle I found in my garden. What an amazing insect. The Japanese Shibazakura pink carpet bloom. California Academy of Science Big Picture Competition 2022. Grand Prize winner. Beesme. Photographer. Carrie Naina. A nail was found hammered into one of the man's heel bones. Incidents that he was crucified. An extremely rare rainbow-colored iridescent cloud over Vadodara, India. FA-18 going transonic. This happens when some parts of the jet are supersonic and other parts remain subsonic. The cloud of condensed water is known as a vapor cone. Guy taking his tortoise out for a walk. The way this old tennis stadium has been overrun by nature. This here is a triggerfish. Their human-like teeth make their appearance slightly uncanny. This here is a Dumbo octopus. They are so named because its 2 big fins are reminiscent of Dumbo's floppy ears, which they flap to swim around. Unfortunately you wouldn't be able to meet one as they live at depths below 9,000 feet. The world's longest manned flight was 64 days 22 hours and 19 minutes in this Cessna 172. During this period it was refueled over 128 times by the truck below. Phenomenon created by SpaceX rocket after a fuel dump. A safari Porsche fitted with detachable paddle wheels and flotation devices, making it amphibious. The immortal jellyfish, Teratopsis dornii. Using transdifferentiation they can revert back to their polyp stage, young, from any point in their medusa stage, mature, essentially reversing their biotic cycle, potentially living forever. A message proposed in 1993 by the US Department of Energy to warn future generations of nuclear waste sites. This place is not a place of honor. No highly esteemed deed is commemorated here. Nothing valued is here. What is here is dangerous and repulsive to us. This message is a warning about danger. A photo of a frozen Niagara Falls taken in 1885. This shattered glass puzzle. My local Arby's is an old mosque that was abandoned. A map of Australia's population density. Half of the population lives in the red areas and the other half lives in the blue. New Russian flag used by some anti-war Russians today, based on Novgorod Republic heraldic, supposedly fifth democratic state in Russian history back in 12th to 15th century. A moldy, half-filled pool in a derelict and crumbling building owned and used by the Church of Scientology in Canada. The Malaysian blue coral snake has the largest venom glands of any snake. It takes up 25% of their entire length. This is an HP 200LX, a tiny PC-compatible computer from 1994. It is connected to the internet wirelessly via a Wi-Fi modem, and the computer can run for weeks on a pair of AA batteries. Buick's entry in the final General Motors Motorama of 1961 was an Electra 225 convertible with several novel features, including a flamboyant custom paint job and 360 degrees rotating seats. An interesting painting which hides art within it the more you look. Astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti reenacts a scene from Gravity inside the International Space Station. Longhorn beetle portrait. World's longest-haired goat, SIMBA. The world's longest-haired goat was born in Pakistan. Ears are almost 48 centimeters. Raindrops photographed by Ronnie Turns. A parka made out of seal intestines as a way to make it waterproof. First image of Earth from outer space, October 24, 1946, taken by the Vita No. 13 suborbital spaceflight. Panoramic drone shot of a tornado-embedded supercell thunderstorm as it approaches Marysville, Kansas, on June 11, 2022. This is Gadames, a pre-Roman Amazigh town in the Sahara of war-ridden Libya. Indian state Meghalaya have these root bridges created by living tree roots. One bridges can survive as long as 150 years and can carry 50 peoples at once. The Root Beer Falls in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, actually named the Tequamanon Falls, is the second most voluminous waterfall in the eastern US. The root beer color originates from the tannins that leach from the cedar swamp at the start of the Tequamanon River. The first self-portrait or selfie, which was taken in 1839 by the already famous photographer Robert Cornelius. He was the first person in the United States to open a photo studio. A working replica of the first practical electric car from 1881. It has a top speed of nearly 9 miles per hour and a range of almost 25 miles, the same as the original. Not bad for a 141-year-old invention. The arm of a man who lived through the siege of Mariupol. Voyagers 1 and 2 were launched in 1977 for a 4-year mission. Never stopping, these are the furthest traveled human vehicles at roughly 22 billion kilometers from Earth, and are still operating. Shutting down some instruments will allow them to continue until at least the year 2030. They are in open space now. One of the longest walks on Google Maps, 13,898 miles, taking about 44-70 hours to complete. So if you were to walk around 12 hours each day at 3 miles per hour, it would take you an entire year to complete the walk. You pass through 16 countries and hike the equivalent of 13 round trips up and down Mount Everest. Foccioli Castellarizo, Greece. The light of the sun is refracted through the water and finally reflected in the interior of the grotto, thereby producing this weird dazzling blue color. Bullwinkle, world's tallest offshore oil platform. At the time of construction, I believe, being towed from Port of Corpus Christi, Shell Oil Company sunk the platform in the Gulf of Mexico. It stood 1,615 feet tall, taller than the Sears Tower in Chicago. Rabbit survives 30-mile road trip trapped in grill after being hit by car. Felix Baumgartner stepping outside his capsule, mounted on a balloon, at a height of 71,500 feet, on March 15, 2012. Later that year he would perform the world's highest jump, from 127,852 feet. 1917 Map of the World. Winston Churchill's wartime bunker, including the cabinet room, his desk from which he made several speeches, bedroom and one of his cigars. This service station hasn't been operational since 1947, and the pumps still display the gas prices that year, $0.23. I took a photo of the largest sailing yacht in the world, worth $800 million, that belonged to the Russian oligarch Andriy Melnichenko, until Italy seized it. Frozen waterfall. Yervi El Aguar is one of 2 petrified waterfalls in the world. Urge was the Norwegian predecessor for the American drink Surge, and Ireland it's still quite popular in Scandinavia to this day. Compliments of Oslo Airport. Zhang Qi was a corrupt Chinese politician who took millions in bribes. After 13.5 tons of gold were found stashed in his home, Qi was given a life sentence and stripped of his assets. Under law, he will spend hours every day performing hard labor. Qi was only spared section due to his cooperation. Learned today Fenway Park had a hidden garden. In the 1980s, Denver Broncos kicker Rich Karlis would kick barefoot during NFL games.